The Scrum Framework Basics, Part 3, the events of Scrum. The sprint itself is considered an event. It's a container that holds other events. The sprint is time boxed, no more than 1 month, please. And if you look at all the events of the framework, there is some expectation of a time limit. Now, the sprint itself is a little different in that there's a repeating cadence that we would expect. For instance, if you were conducting 2 week sprints, you would expect 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. You wouldn't expect 6 days, 11 days, 14 days, 3 days, right? There's a cadence to it. It helps build confidence and also some historical evidence of what the team might be capable of. The sprint itself, no more than 1 month. Within that event container of the sprint itself, we have 4 cyclical events that repeat sprint after sprint. Now, these cyclical events are a little different from the sprint itself in that if you finish the objective of the event that is taking place within the sprint, you do not have to consume the entire time box that's allocated, and you can move on to the next thing. Not true for the sprint itself. Maintain that cadence. The first logical event of the Scrum framework within the sprint would be sprint planning. Sprint planning is time boxed at no more than 8 hours. And again, if you finish earlier, then you can move on to the next thing. We would expect that there would be 3 topics of conversation. There would be the product owner's opportunity to explain what they want, to have discussions with the developers about why these items are important. And then the third topic would be with the developers figure out how they're going to get the work done. Facilitated by the Scrum Master. Now, as the sprint is progressing, every day the developers come together for a 15-minute time-boxed daily Scrum. This is not a status meeting. It's an alignment meeting. It's meant to ensure that everybody on the team is understanding where we are in our progress and how they are coordinating together. Towards the end of the sprint, we have 2 events. First comes the sprint review, time boxed at no more than 4 hours. I have never seen a sprint review go over 2 hours, but I'm sure there are some that have. The sprint review is the opportunity to share with those outside of the Scrum team what has been created, to share the increments, completed, done work. After the review, we have the retrospective. And the retrospective is for the Scrum team. It's not meant to have people dropping by. We want to give the Scrum team an opportunity to discuss potentially sensitive items that they might not feel comfortable discussing if other people were visiting. They can invite guests, and that's different. The sprint retrospective time boxed at 3 hours. Typically, a sprint retrospective will not last longer than an hour, but you have the time if necessary. Now, picture in your mind this pattern repeating over and over. At the beginning of the sprint planning. During the sprint, a daily Scrum. Towards the end of the sprint, the review, and then the retrospective. These different events have built into them these opportunities for increased visibility and opportunities for inspect and adapt behaviors. First, let's consider the daily Scrum. The daily Scrum is a great opportunity, frequently throughout the sprint, of course, daily, to bring visibility into our progress and to inspect and adapt on how close we are to achieving the goal of the sprint. At the sprint boundary, seeing what the team has completed in the sprint review and how that might affect the next sprint or sprints is a second great opportunity to increase visibility. And here we're sharing information about the product that we're creating. Inspecting and adapting on the product would seem reasonable at the end of every sprint. Here's what we produced, get some feedback, product owner decides, are there any adjustments that we want to make going forward? And the third great inspect and adapt point, the sprint retrospective. And here we're bringing visibility in how well we are working together as a team. I like to think about people and process when I think about the retrospective. So you can see my P words here: daily Scrum, inspecting and adapting on progress; sprint review, inspecting and adapting on product; retrospective, inspecting and adapting on people and process. Now, in addition to these events, there's another activity. It's not an event. An event has a time limit on it. This activity we would call product backlog refinement. I prefer to use that term informally, but I know there are others who formalize that as a defined activity within the Scrum framework. The Scrum Guide does recognize the need to refine the product backlog for sure. But it's not an event because you will need to take as much time as is necessary to work on your product backlog, to get it ready to bring work to the team at the beginning of the next sprint or sprints. You might be refining for multiple sprints out, maybe even a quarter or longer. Those are the basics of what takes place during a typical sprint. Product backlog refinement is running concurrently while those repeating events within the container of the sprint are taking place. More detail on these different events and activities in other sessions. Thank you.